2015 is scarily quickly getting closer and closer to its end. And while I think it has largely been an awesome year for video games, let's not forget all the games that went horribly, horribly wrong. Sometimes we need to acknowledge our failures so we don't make those same mistakes twice, right? I'm Alana, you're watching Button Bash, and here are my top picks for the worst 3 games of 2015 so far. Number 3 is Batman Arkham Knight, the PC version, which was such a disaster that the game was temporarily taken off Steam entirely just after launch. There were sporadic freezes, frame rate stutters, audio glitches, and it had a 70% of players hit the not recommended option, despite the bug supposedly mostly targeting people with AMD graphics cards. Instead of patching all the issues, Warner Bros. Pulled the game entirely and requested that some retailers stop selling it as well. They also offered full refunds for the game, and it only re-released after several months, though it still has bugs. Arkham Knight is basically the epitome of a AAA release disaster. I wonder if we'll ever see anything that bad again. Supposedly Rocksteady were also fully aware of the issues but didn't really care because they were focusing on the console versions. I mean, the initial release of the PS4 had far better graphics than the PC version, which is basically unheard of. Number 2 is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, which is almost worth playing just for how bad it is. Not only is it overly simple, boring and bland in both gameplay and environments, it's also littered with technical issues and bugs. Probably one of the most frustrating things in the game isn't even a bug. It's the totally intentional addition of the slam move, which has your character just sort of slam into the ground, which would probably be fine if it weren't mapped to the same button as grind, and that button mapping was impossible to change. This basically means that while there are a few rare moments in Pro Skater 5 that have you feeling lovely nostalgia because you're in the middle of chaining a bunch of different moves together, oops, accidentally slam instead of grind and your combo is gone. Playing online is also pretty terrible, which is doubly annoying since there's a patch for it bigger than the size of the game itself to add the multiplayer component. It slows down the frame rate, adds to load times, and does absolutely nothing interesting socially. Basically, it just makes the bad game run even worse. It should also be mentioned that Tony Hawk games usually have pretty great soundtracks. Yeah, this one doesn't. It's bad on almost every level.
Now, your feelings are mine!
Number 1 is Afro Samurai 2 Revenge of Kuma, only just beating Pro Skater 5 because it was pulled completely with no chance of returning and officially deemed a failure. Versus Evil is currently working with Sony's marketplace to refund everyone who purchased the game, and volumes 2 and 3, which were originally promised, aren't going to be released at all. It's terrible, firstly, in storytelling. Everything is forced, awkward, and frankly pretty demanding. You're basically unable to feel any emotion playing the game because it so naively demands your sympathy and seems to have no concept of storytelling, character development, or how-to dialogue whatsoever. The combat is sloppy and incoherent and sometimes completely random. Button prompts for defense seem to have a window of success within them, but you have no way of knowing if you'll be successful, even if you've pressed the right button seemingly in that window. You earn skill points seemingly completely randomly, and sometimes you don't even have control over which skill tree you pick, the game might choose for you. It also just has a terrible frame rate, a super confusing world map, glitches everywhere, and really stupid boss fights. Unlike Pro Skater 5 though, the soundtrack is actually quite good. Maybe check that out before ever checking the game out. Those are my picks for the top 3 worst games of 2015 so far, and I really do hope nothing in December manages to overtake the dramatic shortcomings of any of the games on this list. We can only hope. I'm Alana, thanks for watching Button Bash.